Hey, it's Derek from WatchMeCode.net. So in my last video, I talked about the idea of job security as a software developer, and ultimately what job security as a developer is. And in my experience, how the idea of helping other people to be better developers and just better people in general really creates job security, at least in my career, has created a lot of job security for me. But there's an interesting side effect of that, though. It's one that I've been thinking about ever since I recorded that video. And that side effect is that as you start becoming the person that is helpful, that creates a more productive environment, you end up with more responsibility, not just for your own projects, but for additional people that are working within the same project as you. And I've found over the years that this can be a difficult situation to deal with. Most of us just get thrown into the leadership or management roles with no real guidance, no clue, just toss you to the wolves and hope you can swim as you're drowning, fighting off these wild beasts called developers. It can be a really difficult situation. And I've found a few things that are what I consider to be key to really creating a productive team when you're getting into any kind of management position. And so I want to ask you, what are those keys? I want to talk to you about what those keys are. And of course, I do have a little story to share with you. So years ago, I had essentially nobody to talk to, nobody to listen to my questions, nobody to answer my questions, nobody around when I was learning development. I was really on my own in my early career. I got by. I had books. There were articles on the internet. Blogging was, just starting, sort of. There were things out there that people were talking about, but Stack Overflow didn't exist. Slack didn't exist. IRC was just, a place for random people to talk about weird things. And it was difficult to find guidance and help when you didn't work in a team. But, somehow I got through it and I managed to learn. I moved forward. Eventually, I got my first full-time job as a software developer. And after, a year or so at that job, something happened one day. I was given responsibility. I was given responsibility not just over my projects, which I had already had responsibility for that, but I was given responsibility for the projects of another developer, someone that we had just hired. Now, I knew we were hiring this person. I helped hire the person after I was in the interview process. I made the final recommendation over who we should hire. This was a person that I wanted to work with. But now I suddenly found myself in the position of having to manage this person. I've never done management before. I don't know what I'm doing. And so the question of how do I create a productive team and a productive environment came up. Not directly at first, but eventually. At first, it was just like, okay, let me sit down and show you how to do these things. You're going to take over these aspects of managing the website and putting up this content and doing these things. And I'm going to go focus on, this application that I've been working on for a while now. And so I sat down and I showed the person how to do things. And I basically just, said, okay, go for it. Let me know if you have questions. And, 5 minutes later, what about? And I found myself having a really hard time answering their questions. Not because I didn't want to, but because I could see that the direction they were heading with the tasks was not the way I did things. It was different. It was wrong in my mind. It was just no. You don't do it that way. No, you need to do this. No, you need to go over here and do these things this way. Oh no. You don't want to do that. You want to do this. And so after a while, after maybe a couple of weeks, a couple of months maybe, I found myself doing the job of more than one person. I was doing my job, which was working on this application, but I was also doing the other person's job, the person that I had hired to do their job. I was basically doing their job, just constantly sitting over their shoulder, telling them to do this, do this, do this. I was very micromanaging, very controlling, very unwilling to let go of the responsibility for what they were managing. Now, eventually, our manager, the department director, starts to see this. He recognizes the pattern in me, the problems that I'm dealing with, and the problems that I'm creating in this environment where I'm doing both jobs. And so our manager sits me down, and we have this discussion about responsibility and learning to let go, and we figure out eventually how I can learn to let go of these responsibilities and just let this person fumble their way through and make mistakes and, learn how to correct the mistakes and move on. And things got better from there. So ultimately what I had to do in that situation was really learn how to trust someone. And it was a very difficult thing for me to do because I had so much effort, so much time, so much direct involvement. My signature was all over the thing that they had taken over. And it was very difficult for me to let go. I had a very difficult time trusting that they would not break the thing that I had spent so much time building. Whether it was the process or the software or whatever it was. So fast forward a few years, and I'm at a different job, and I've got a different team, different people, and I'm put into a leadership position again. And this is like my first real big project, real big leadership opportunity at this company. And so I've got a small team, and I have a couple of developers that I've worked with in the past, and they're good developers. And so I see some potential problem areas in this chunk of code dealing with a WinForms application and the model view presenter pattern. And there's just too many things too tightly coupled, and it's not really as flexible as we need it to be. And so I task one of my developers to go fix the model view presenter setup in this application, at least for this one big form that has several different components in it. And I pretty much just tossed it over the fence, said, hey, okay, we need you to go fix this. Go. And I just went off, and 3 months later came back. I had complete trust, absolute trust that this person would take care of the problem and do things right. Well, 3 months later, I looked at what he had produced, and, well, he had certainly changed the code. It was different, but it was nowhere near the result that I really needed. And so I've gone from this situation where I didn't trust this person in that first job way back when, the first hire that I had. I didn't trust them to do anything right. How could I when it was my baby and I knew how things were supposed to be done? So I've gone from that all the way to the opposite extreme, where I put so much trust in and so much faith in the ability to trust someone that I didn't bother to check to see if they needed help. And so both of these situations end up with fail. I caused more problems in both of these situations than I ever expected to. We ended up wasting 3 months of developer hours with this person at this second job because I chose to take too much of an extreme in that situation. So I've gone from one of these extremes to the other, and I've done this multiple times in multiple different aspects, different dimensions around managing people and dealing with leadership roles. And what I've found over the years since is that I really need to have a better balance. I need to have that trust component. I just hired a person to help me with marketing efforts on WatchMeCode.net. This is a person that I just recently met, but he has what appeared to be the skills that I need. He's both a software developer and a marketing expert. He's got opinions that I really like on the marketing side of things, and he appears to be doing really good work. I trust him to produce the results that I need. But I'm not just blindly tossing things over the wall. I'm following up. I'm asking questions. Hey, what can I do to help? Are you getting stuck anywhere? Do you need more information? Now, I'm verifying the work that he's doing. We're having regular status meetings. Hey, show me what you produced this week. Show me what you've got going on. What about this document? Did we cover that yet? What about this? We're having conversations. This isn't me being micromanaging. This isn't me tossing things over the fence and blaming somebody else when things don't get done or are done wrong. This is me actively participating in the process with everybody on my team. And that's ultimately what this comes down to. That is ultimately what you, as a new leader in your team, need to do. Whether your leadership title is official or not, if anybody in your team looks up to you for anything, even the smallest thing, if somebody comes to you with a question, you are now in a leadership position. And you need to find that balance between trust and verify. Tossing things over the wall, just saying, hey, here's the answer, versus really following up and making sure that things got done right or got done the way they should have been or got done at all in some cases. It's not an easy thing to do at all. I certainly know the pain of letting go. I mean, I built Marionette.js years ago, that framework on top of Backbone.js. That was my baby for several years. It was my pride and joy, and I had a ton of time and effort invested into that. And one day I decided that it was no longer the right thing for my career. And so literally the first person that came along and said, hey, I really want to apply these changes and get these fixes pulled. I was like, here's the keys to the castle. I gave that person absolute trust, but I also verified the work they were doing. At first, when they started pulling in the pull request and putting in code changes, I'd go review it. I'd go make sure everything was good. Eventually, really quickly, I handed over the keys to the castle to that person and I said, all right, you're good to go. I really do trust that you'll take this project in the right direction because you've shown me that you can. So the idea of trust but verify has become incredibly important to me as a leader. And I think it's something that you as a leader, project manager, technical lead, architect, senior developer, person who can answer questions, whatever your leadership is in your team, in your project, find that balance between trust and verify. But make sure that you do trust and make sure that you do verify whenever you need to, because you do need to keep things on track. So what do you think? What are your number one tips for people that are finding themselves in leadership positions that they've never been in before? I would love to hear what you think. Be sure to drop some comments down below and also subscribe to the channel so you can hear more thoughts on code presented by WatchMeCode.net.